27. Avalokitesvara. At that time, Sudana the youth then single-mindedly reflected on that layman's teachings by which he entered the treasury of that bodhisattva's liberation, acquired that bodhisattva's power of mindfulness, recalled the sequence of all those Buddhas' appearance in the world, bore in mind the continual successive appearance of those Buddhas, retained the names of those Buddhas according to their sequence, contemplated the sublime Dharma taught by those Buddhas, knew the complete adornments of those Buddhas, saw those Buddhas gain the right and universal enlightenment, and completely understood those Buddhas' inconceivable works. He then gradually traveled onward until he reached that mountain. He then searched about everywhere for this great bodhisattva until, on its western slope, he saw him in a steep-walled valley with brightly reflecting intertwined springs and creeks, and with forests, densely luxuriant vegetation, and fragrant and soft grasses that carpeted the ground in rightward radiating swirls. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva was sitting there in the full lotus posture on a Vajra jewel stone, surrounded by countless respectful bodhisattvas, all of whom sat there atop jewel stones as he taught them a Dharma discourse on the great kindness and the great compassion with which he encouraged them to devote themselves to gathering in all beings. Having observed this, Sudana was overcome with joyous exultation. He then pressed his palms together and gazed attentively, eyes unblinking, at what he beheld there. He then had these thoughts. The good spiritual guides are the Tathagata himself. The good spiritual guides are the cloud of all dharmas. The good spiritual guides are the treasury of all meritorious qualities. The good spiritual guides are only rarely encountered. The good spiritual guides are the cause of the jewels of the 10 powers. The good spiritual guides are the endlessly burning torch of wisdom. The good spiritual guides are the roots and sprouts of merit. The good spiritual guides are the guides on the ocean of wisdom. And the good spiritual guides are the provisions on the path to all knowledge. He then immediately went to pay his respects to that great bodhisattva. Seeing Sudana from a distance, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva then spoke to him, saying, "Welcome. You have brought forth the great vehicle's resolve to everywhere gather in beings. You have raised forth the right and straightforward mind, especially intent on seeking the Buddha's Dharma. You are one of great compassion who deeply esteems the rescue and protection of all. The marvelous practices of Samantabhadra continuously manifest directly before you. The deep resolve of your great vows is completely fulfilled and purified. You diligently seek the Buddha's Dharma while being able to take it all in. You are insatiable and constantly collecting roots of goodness. You comply with the good spiritual guide and never oppose his teachings. You are one born from the great ocean of Manjushri's meritorious qualities and wisdom. As your mind becomes ripened, you will acquire the empowerment of the Buddhas. You have already acquired the light of vast samadhis. You are especially intent on seeking the extremely profound and sublime Dharma. You will always see all Buddhas and be filled with great happiness. Your wisdom is as pure as empty space. Having gained complete understanding of yourself, you then teach this for the benefit of others, and you are securely established in the light of the Tathagata's wisdom." Sudana the youth then bowed down in reverence at the feet of Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva and circumambulated him countless times. He then stood before him with palms pressed together and addressed him, saying, "O Arya, I am one who has already resolved to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Still, I do not yet know how the Bodhisattva should train in the Bodhisattva practices, or how he should cultivate the Bodhisattva path. I have heard that the Arya is well able to offer instruction in this. Please speak about these matters for my sake." The Bodhisattva then told him, "It is good indeed, son of good family, that you have been able to resolve to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Son of good family, I have already perfected the Bodhisattva's liberation gateway known as the practice of the great compassion. Son of good family, through this Bodhisattva's gateway of the practice of the great compassion, I continuously and incessantly provide impartial teaching to all beings. Son of good family, as I dwell in this gateway of the practice of the great compassion, I always remain in the presence of all Tathagatas while manifesting everywhere directly before all beings. I may use giving to attract beings, or I may use pleasing words, beneficial actions, or joint endeavors to attract beings. I may manifest a form body to attract beings, or I may manifest nets of pure light of all different inconceivable colors to attract beings. I may use voices, the awesome deportment, the teaching of Dharma, or the manifestation of spiritual transformations to arouse the minds of beings, thereby ripening them. And in some cases I manifest in a form identical to theirs, and then dwell together with them in order to ripen them. Son of good family, in my cultivation of this gateway of the practice of the great compassion, I vow to always rescue all beings, and vow as well that all beings shall escape the fear of dangerous paths, shall escape the fear of the feverish afflictions, shall escape the fear of doubts and delusions, shall escape the fear of bondage, shall escape the fear of killing or injury, shall escape the fear of poverty and destitution, shall escape the fear of not being able to survive, shall escape the fear of ill repute, shall escape the fear of death, shall escape the fear of great assemblies, shall escape the fear of the wretched destinies, shall escape the fear of darkness, shall escape the fear of moving, shall escape the fear of being separated from those one loves, shall escape the fear of coming together with adversaries, shall escape the fear of being subjected to physical torment, shall escape the fear of being subjected to mental torment, and shall escape the fear of worry and grief. I also make this vow. I vow that all beings who merely bring me to mind, merely call out my name, or merely see me, will be able to avoid whatever frightens them. Son of good family, after using these skillful means to enable beings to become free of fear, I then teach them how to arouse the resolve to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, and then remain forever irreversible in this resolve. Son of good family, I have attained only this Bodhisattva's gateway of the practice of the great compassion. As for the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas who have already purified all of Samantabhadra's vows, who have already dwelt in all of Samantabhadra's practices, who always practice all good dharmas, who always enter all samadhis, who always remain throughout all the boundlessly many kalpas, who always know all dharmas of the 3 periods of time, who always go to pay their respects in all the boundlessly many kshetras, who always halt all beings' evils, who always increase all beings' goodness, and who always cut short beings drifting along in the flow of samsara. How could I know of or be able to speak about their meritorious qualities and practices? At that time, a bodhisattva from the eastern direction named Ananyagamin, or right progression, descended from space to the peak of the Saha world's Iron Ring Mountains. As soon as he placed his feet on the ground, the entire Saha world quaked and moved in 6 ways, and then became entirely adorned with the many kinds of jewels. Then Anyagamin Bodhisattva emanated rays of light from his body, the brightness of which outshone the light of the sun, moon, stars, and lightning, while also diminishing to the appearance of ink blots the lights of the devas, the dragons, the rest of the 8 types of spiritual beings, Shakra, Brahma, and the world-protecting kings. His light everywhere illuminated all realms of the hells, animals, hungry ghosts, and King Yama, where it extinguished the many kinds of sufferings in those wretched destinies, prevented the afflictions from arising, and also allowed those beings to escape from all worry and anguish. Further, in all Buddha lands, there everywhere rained down all varieties of flowers, incense, necklaces, robes, banners, canopies, and all other such adornments, all of which were presented as offerings to the Buddhas. Furthermore, in accordance with whatever delighted the minds of those beings, he everywhere manifested his body in all the palaces, gladdening all those who saw this, after which they all came and paid their respects to Avalokitesvara. Then Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva spoke to Sudana, asking, "Son of good family, did you see Ananyagamin Bodhisattva arrive in this congregation, or not?" Sudana replied, "I did indeed see him." Avalokitesvara then told Sudana, "You may go and ask him, how should the Bodhisattva train in the Bodhisattva practices, and how should he cultivate the Bodhisattva path?